Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver
Good
now.
morning, silver lovers. We are once again at the point of demarcation, the point where either the bankers slam silver or silver slams the bankers. There are differences this time. Yes, it is different this time, which I will point out in this video, some of the differences. I talked about it in the private road that I posted yesterday. I'm going to put this one on YouTube if they allow me to. We're currently well over the 200-day and 100-day moving averages. I think this little slam down below $30 back here was kind of the final test. See how many people don't know what we're doing as far as the silver riggers. The Commitment of Traders report came out, and it is shocking. It isn't shocking, but it should be shocking. If the CFTC, which I'll get to in a second, that's the Commodity Futures and Trading Regulator, there's nobody left there. It's an empty house. I'll get to that in a second, which is really interesting because that adds to what's going on right now. We are at a very, very serious time in silver. The whole world knows silver is massively undervalued. We're wasting it in certain types of electronics. For example, solar panels. I saw Elon again saying, "Oh my God, the world has to go 100% to solar." Well, the reality is they're cranking out massive amounts of solar panels. It's going to be 700 gigawatts this year, although the Silver Institute refuses to talk about the true number of how much silver is being used. It's 400 to 500 million ounces, about half. I'd say about half. Let's go with 400 million ounces. Will be used this year in solar panels, and they're telling you it's half of that, 200 million ounces, which is a lie. And they know they're lying. That's why they had to go back and change all the numbers. And now they're saying, well, all this silver, we had overproduction in panels, and now it's all being installed. It is not being installed. And by the way, when you had overproduction in panels, you should have counted the silver then, and you did not. This is the Silver Institute and Metals Focus that provides those numbers. So they want to have their cake and eat it too type of thing. I don't know how that term goes. Anyway, let's look at what's happening in the only market that matters when it comes to price in silver. No other matter markets. This is the entire world takes their betting off these criminal activities on the COMEX, the CME. It is ridiculous. It is outrageous, but it's been going on for so long. We're just kind of used to it. At least this version of it, the computer manipulation with derivatives, has been going on since 1973, 74. After we went off the gold standard, there was a new CFTC was built in 74, and now it is gone. It was always the going joke, the laughing stock from the banker side. I was a banker for 25 years. The laughing stock was the SEC had real lawyers and the CFTC had ridiculous jokes because they didn't want people buying commodities. They didn't want people investing in gold and silver, especially. That's un-American to invest in gold and silver. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, here's what's going on. Managed money, which is the good guys, maybe, who knows, 10,000 contracts long. This is in 1 week, which is 10,000 contracts, 50 million ounces. Really exciting. There's 500 million ounces. Oh, shit. Here we go again. 50. So the way this works is that these reports come out, and I had always relied on Ted Butler. And by the way, I asked Grok to analyze this, how Ted Butler worked, and I'll show you that in a second. Yeah, 50 million ounces. That's a big jump in 1 week for managed money. And in the past, if you're trying to track what the riggers are going to do, when managed money buys a lot of silver, that's the silver that is going to be sold when the slam happens. So that's what the bankers did. They went short almost the same amount, and then there's other reportables, probably BlackRock. So they are at an extreme position again. They are at an extreme position of shorts, much like 2011. What is going to happen? Well, let's ask Grok. Where'd I put Grok? Oh, did I lose Grok? Fuck. There it is. I was about to start this video all over again. Sorry for the F word. Here's what I said. I asked Grok. Using the latest CFTC Commitment of Traders report published on June 3rd, 2025. That was published Friday night. Analyze the current positioning of silver traders using the methodology used by Ted Butler. Is the market positioned for another slam down or a further increase in silver prices? So I went through all the things that Ted looks at, the concentration, which is the most important thing. If you're looking for manipulation, the only way you can find manipulation is if you have a concentrated short position or long position. Any concentrated position shows that the very small number of banksters are colluding, illegally colluding. That's a RICO charge to rig the prices of whatever. If it's a small group of traders with a huge concentration. Right now, the commercials, who are the riggers, JP Morgan, Citibank, Wells Fargo, HSBC, the list of 8, those 8 traders, just 8 traders, of Jeff Christian says thousands, tens of thousands of people trade on the COMEX. It's not true, but just 8 traders right now hold 52% of the short position out of everybody. It's insane. So they go through all the numbers. Let's get right down to the bottom of applying Ted's methodology, which was brilliant. And this comes from the CFTC's own data. They are the ones who should say, oh my God, there's 8 traders that have over 50% of the short position in all the accounts. All the 100% of what the open interest is, only 8 traders have the short position in silver. And they collude with each other, which we saw in the JP Morgan case. It had banks colluding back and forth. They didn't ultimately, they were going to charge JP Morgan with RICO charges, which means you're colluding to do a crime. But they decided to, pay the money and declare guilt, but not do anything on the collusion side. Okay, I'll read you the synthesis and then the conclusion. This is the most important thing. If you're a silver investor, this is the most important thing you need to know. Are they going to slam the price again? And remember, just because they have done it every time in the past doesn't mean they have the power to do it. Always. I've been screaming about the good guys, but we also have China, India, and Russia buying. And they're not really happy with America right now. None of them, I'd say. China and Russia, obviously not. The current COT positioning leans bearish in Ted Butler's framework due to the high concentration of commercial short position, large net commercial short position, and speculative overextension. The increase in commercial shorts, 7,235 contracts, against the speculative longs, 8,741 contracts, suggests the commercials are preparing to cap the rally, potentially triggering a slam down to liquidate speculative positions. Butler would likely argue that the concentrated short position, 52% by 8 traders, gives commercials the firepower to manipulate prices downward. However, and this is important, the bullish speculative position and potential physical market tightness suggests that any slam down may be limited in scope, with prices potentially rebounding if commercials cover shorts or physical demand kicks in. The market is not in a wash out state like June 2019, which would be more bullish, but it's also not in an extreme speculative peak that guarantees a sharp correction. Conclusion. Based on the CFTC report for June 3rd, 2025, and using Ted Butler's methodology, the silver market is more likely positioned for a near-term slam down than further price increases. The high concentration of commercial short positions, 37.7% by 4 traders and 52% by 8, large net commercial short position, and speculative overextension, 60,000 plus net long contracts, align with Butler's classic setup for commercial-induced price suppression. The increase in commercial shorts, 7,235 contracts during a speculative buying surge reinforces this bearish outlook. What would happen if JP Morgan and friends, the regulators, did not add those commercial shorts last week? 35 million ounces. What if they didn't? And what if they were removed? If you just remove those 8 traders, what would happen to the price of silver last week? It would have gone blown past $50 in a single week. They're purposefully capping the price, and they'll keep capping it until they can orchestrate a slam. Now, they might blame it on a market collapse, global market collapse, a war, whatever they want to do. The reality is, it doesn't matter. It's futures and options traded on derivatives on a derivative platform called the COMEX and run with computer programs. They can program in, set the price of silver to minus $40, click a mouse, and have that happen instantly. Because losses don't matter. The retention of the system matters. So JP Morgan can go to the government and say, I'll tell you, remember last time, and the only time really JP Morgan got their hands slapped about rigging gold and silver was when? The Trump administration. And here we are with Trump again. May look like things are falling apart. We all know the Achilles heel of the bankers is this silver short position. This is what it would look like. This right here is what it would look like if the good guys win. You'll see the commercial short position just keep rising and rising. And how can they close it out? They either deliver the silver or they have to buy back those short contracts. Well, who's going to take that short position? If silver hits $50, who's going to take that short position? I mean, it's been 50 years and no one's been willing to take that huge short position except the 4 to 8 bankers who would make money off the short side because nobody knew what was going on. Now everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows they collude and rig the price. Everybody knows that Virtu Financial is behind the scenes with their computer programs creating the market. It's a con, it's a fraud, it's destroying our country. But it is also how we will get out of where we are. Destroy the system. Destroy the markets. Start fresh. Destroy the banking cabal. Start a new system trading probably with Veritasium, peer-to-peer transactions. They gave them a patent for a reason. And we're giving away one Veritasium token right now, by the way, for private road subscribers. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, we are set up for the slam. It'll be interesting. If you look at the price of silver, if you look at like the last couple of weeks, this is where they're just loading up. Each one of these jumps is the COMEX reporting week. Right here. It goes from Tuesday right here to the Wednesday. Tuesday to Wednesday. And it did right here again. Another jump. That means they added more. I would guess even more than what they added last time, which was they added, 8,000 contracts, 40 million ounce short position, just the 8 traders. So if they did it again, another 40 million, and again, how much? And then let's just say silver breaks free. Whoever it is that decides what's going to happen, and there is no regulator right now. I just want to show you this. These, when you go to the CFTC, these are the 2 acting commissioners, Caroline Pham and Kristen Johnson. Caroline Pham worked for Citibank, one of the largest silver short providers. They're the providers of the short for SLV. Yeah, I know SLV is not supposed to be shorted, but hey, that's what Citibank does. That's where they have always been. And Kristen Johnson, who worked for, guess, JP Morgan. So the only 2 out of the 5 commissioners they're supposed to have, 2 of them are left, the Citibank and the JP Morgan hinge people. And guess what? They both have given notice. Both of them. CFTC leaders exit as Trump prepares to take the helm. Wait, we're a big chunk of the way into the Trump administration, and everybody is leaving. They will have 0 people at the CFTC. And look at this. This is classic. CFTC chief enforcement, the guy in charge of enforcing what I'm telling you, what I'm showing you on this commitment of traders report, the concentrated short position is manipulating the price. The guy who's supposed to bust them leaves. Brian Young, who led the Commodities Trading Futures Commission Enforcement Division since January, has left the derivatives market as derivatives market regulator after 4 months on the job. Young, in an email sent to the Enforcement Division last week, said he is taking a federal employee buyout offer for an early retirement and is leaving the agency. Holy crap. So there's no commissioners and there's nobody in charge of enforcement. This is the exact type of situation that silver breaks the bonds of the manipulators, or the manipulators destroy the silver price. Either way, there's a rig job happening and you get to watch it. And if you're smart, you have your physical metal in your own possession, so price does not matter. You're sitting there on the sidelines on your silver throne watching this game. Senate committee to consider a Trump pick. Brian Quinteres, who was an I don't have a problem with Brian. He's not a Citibank guy. He's not a JP Morgan guy. He obviously knows about silver manipulation. I would love Bart Chilton to be there. He's not Bart Chilton, not even close. Bart passed away, unfortunately, of cancer. And Bart was like the only guy I've seen ever at the CFTC that really had the people's best interest at hand. He's the guy who told us that JP Morgan was offsides and they made a political decision not to stop JP Morgan from rigging the market back in 2008 to 2015, which later Trump busted them for, along with other things. Spoofing is what they call it. But it was much more than spoofing. There was a conspiracy. They all talk to each other and they all use Virtu Financial, Vinnie Viola's company, to run their computer rigging programs. Here's a little look at Brian. He didn't go to Yale. He's not a skull and bones guy. Is he a good guy or bad guy? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I don't think we should have commissioners and SEC. There shouldn't be any of that stuff. The only reason there is a CFTC is to run cover, pretend like we're regulating. The SEC as well. Why not have peer-to-peer markets where, hey, if you lose your money, it's your fault. Stop babying us, Jesus. And because there's just so much potential for fraud on the regulator side. And I've followed up on all these leaders who left, and they're all going to either crypto companies or back into the banking systems where they came from. So they do their stint, they check that box as a for the people regulator, and then they run off and make $1 zillion. And this guy, by the way, Brian, yeah, he went out and he's got a hell of a lot of money in cryptos, supposedly. So he might not get approved. Obviously, he has a conflict of interest. Now, I do think they want to get rid of the CFTC completely and put it under the SEC. I don't know why. But, yeah, really interesting times. I ran across this while I was looking for stuff. This is Chris Giancarlo, the ex-CFTC chairman, who basically admitted that they use futures and options to rig the price of Bitcoin down in 2021. They use futures and options to rig the price of everything at all times. Even the U.S. dollar has futures and options on it and other types of derivatives to control the price. That's why the derivative market is so completely and utterly out of control at $3 quadrillion. JP Morgan is probably the largest U.S. bank playing in that market. Any kind of hiccup, goodbye JP Morgan, which means goodbye everything. You will see your ATMs won't work ever again, at least in this monetary system. When a too big to fail bank, they're called too big to fail banks for a reason. When a too big to fail bank goes, it is over. The old system, unbacked fiat money, is done, which is the best thing for humanity. It means no more debt. But no more electronic assets. Get your assets in your own possession, please. Silver in your own possession. You should be just absolutely loading up on silver below, I'd say, anything above 20 to 1 gold-silver ratio. And right now we're in the 90s, 90 to 1. You should be swapping gold for silver, but you should also use that as your guide as to how much silver to buy and when. It's not about price anymore. It's about the gold-silver ratio, and if silver is when silver is freely traded, what will it trade at? I asked Grok this very question after I got all the Ted Butler stuff. I said, what would happen to the price of silver if the commercials were not successful in starting the silver price slam down, but rather the price of silver ran on them over $50 an ounce, and they were forced to try and cover their position? Here's the Grok answer. If the commercials failed to initiate a silver price slam down and the price surges past $50 per ounce, forcing them to cover their substantial short positions, the impact on the silver market could be significant, particularly when viewed through the lens of Ted Butler's methodology. Butler frequently argued that a scenario where commercials are caught in a short squeeze, unable to suppress prices, and forced to buy back their contracts. This could lead to dramatic price rally in silver due to the concentrated nature of their position and the market's thin liquidity. Below, I'll analyze this scenario based on the CFTC report. It goes through all the contracts and how much. And the conclusion is there's price impacts, there's liquidity constraints, Grok looked at everything: physical market amplification, commercial behaviors and limits, market dynamics. They went through everything. It's good. Do that same thing in Grok, and you can read all this stuff. Estimating the price outcome. So here's estimated, taking all that into account, moderate scenario. The low ball. If the commercials cover 25% of their net shorts, no, they're going to have to cover 100%. But let's just say 25%. Over a few weeks, the speculators add 10,000 contracts long. The buying pressure could push silver to $60 or $70. This assumes physical inventories remain tight, but deliveries are met. Aggressive scenario. If 50% of net shorts are covered rapidly, the physical shortage could escalate, could spike silver to $80 to $120 an ounce. Butler's Code Red scenario suggests $100 plus if commercials lose control. And then the extreme scenario, which I think is low, but we'll look at it. A full cover of 79,141 contracts combined with a physical market panic, i.e. ETF hoarding, retail shortages, could push the price of silver into triple digits, potentially $150 to $200, though this would require extraordinary conditions. Financial stress, dollar collapse, yes, that's what's coming. Extraordinary conditions, but it's not going to stop at $100, $200, $300. It's not going to stop. It might slow down at $600 to $900, but ultimately we got to look at the gold-silver ratio, and that should be, if everything was copacetic. I don't even know what it should be because, yeah, it's coming out of the ground at 7 to 1, 7 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold, which would put it at, $300 silver or something like that. But the reality is, right now, 100% of what comes out of the ground is being gobbled up in the industrial side of silver. 100%, not the 60% they say. It's 100% because they're not counting solar. Basically, they're not even counting it. And then with AI coming, so what happens? Where do you judge a gold-silver ratio in a free market? There's not that much silver left. Maybe 5 to 6 billion ounces. There's 5 to 6 billion ounces supposedly in gold. And that keeps growing because people save gold. They don't eat it up in solar panels. And then ultimately, when people find out there's probably 10 to 20 times more gold than guys like Jeff Christian will tell you, that's where you get the true value of silver. It's going to be, I think in the extreme, it'll run 1 to 10. 1 ounce of silver gets you 10 ounces of gold. And then it'll fall back to where it should be. I think in a technological society where we are consuming silver, but not at the ridiculous rampant pace that we're doing right now, the gold-silver ratio should be 1 to 1. 1 to 1. But we'll see, right? Hell, this fight has been going on for 3,000 years. The fight of what should the gold and silver ratio be. I bought a really cool set of 3 books with all the past analysis and essays from back into the 1700s of how to determine the gold-silver ratio. Because remember, prior to 71, gold and silver were money. They were money. And that was important. The gold-silver ratio was massively important to the human beings prior to the takeover by the banking cabal in the early 1900s, after they found all that gold in the Grand Canyon. So anyway, that's where we are. We are at the brink of something. Remember, we have to be here. We have to be at a position where the bankers could either slam it or be slammed. So this is a good time. If they slam it, no big deal. Hell, we've been sitting on our silver and hodling it for 25 years. It's been 25 years for me. I don't do it. Would I have to do it another 25 years? Fine, whatever. I don't think it'll happen. But remember, to get to that point where the bad guys get taken out, we have to get to the extremes, and that's where we're headed. I'd say we are there right now. We are at an extreme where the bankers need to slam the price down. Probably, I would say they've given up this week, so maybe Wednesday of next week they'll try a slam, or maybe they'll just keep shorting till it hits $50 and then go for the same thing that J.P. Morgan did in 2011. Slam it down and start an artificial bear market and try to do that. Or the good guys win. And maybe there is real power behind this move. What can you do? Get physical silver, get it in your own possession. I do not think any other form of silver will do well at all. ETFs, obviously, confiscation, nationalization. Mining stocks, there's no way when the financial system falls apart, Mexico is not going to be paying out silver mines to foreigners. The wealth of a silver mine. No, they're going to nationalize it or severely tax it to a point where Mexico gets to be a rich country. They should have been a rich country for the past, couple hundred years. Were it not for the price suppression of silver, Mexico would probably be the richest country on the planet. And yet, their people have to run to America. It's just insane because we're a fiat system. Imagine when this happens, say silver goes to $5,000 an ounce. Imagine how many people in Mexico, in the United States, that came from Mexico or South America would be running home to their own countries. Yes, Mexico is going to build the wall and pay for it because they don't want everybody coming back. They want to keep their wealth. They don't want Americans running down to Mexico to start little silver mines. And the people who recently came into the country, they're going to run so fast home, it's going to be crazy. I've been screaming, there's no reason to forcibly bring these people home. Allow the price of silver to rise to $1,000, and Mexico is an extremely rich country, and all their relatives will be extremely rich. And of course they'll run home. Well, Mexico might not want them now because, how many criminals came across the border in the last, during the Biden administration. That was part of the plan. Anyway, welcome to the road to Ruta. It's crazy stuff, huh? So, yeah, lots going on. Again, you go to the CFTC website. About the CFTC, you go on chairman and commissioners. They're the two flunkies for JP Morgan and Citibank, and they've both given notice that they're leaving. So that leaves the commission with 0 people. Perfect time to let the CFTC, it wasn't our fault because no one was there. Crazy times. Okay, as I said, we are giving away 1 Veritasium token. Those who know what Veritasium is know how valuable this token will be in the future. I've been calling it a lottery ticket for a very long time, meaning like if it hits, you're hit big. But the odds of it hitting they're a hell of a lot better than when I first started calling it a lottery ticket after the takedown by the SEC of Reggie Middleton. And then after that, they gave him the patents for DeFi, decentralized finance, and peer-to-peer capital markets, the entire capital market. If JP Morgan had the Reggie Middleton patents, you don't think they'd be enforced every single day in the cryptos? Of course they would. But because Reggie had it, they took him down. But they didn't take it away. He's down but not out. They actually froze 98 million of his 100 million tokens and said, you can't deal in cryptos at all ever again. And by the way, he is. through a silver. Well, it's not him. It's the people who are trying to support Reggie and trying to get Veritaseum, get the old ruling thrown out. And there's a hearing on it at the end of the month. So, yeah, I do think Veritaseum will surpass the price of Bitcoin at some point. That was in Cliff's data. It might be 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. Who knows? But if the U.S. government, if the exchanges fall apart, because of all the reasons it could, the rehypothecation of assets is the main thing. Read The Great Taking. Yeah, Reggie has a solution for that. And it won't be easy, it won't be pretty, but you do want to hold some Veritaseum tokens. That's my take, at least. And we give them away with every private road subscription and renewal. So check that out. Go to roadtoruta.com, click on subscribe today, and check out what we got. I'll talk to you guys later.